It's All-Ireland final season. I'm in Galway. I don't know if you can hear it, but it's raining pretty heavily. But sure, it wouldn't be a morning in Galway without some rain. Micheal Donoghue, the rain certainly doesn't bother you guys.
No, we're well accustomed to it here now in Galway, so hopefully it won't stay with us too long.
We're coming up to the All-Ireland final. Limerick are the next target, obviously. But when we look back on the Clare game, I'd imagine you took a lot from that.
We did, yeah. Look, two very intense games, and our character was tested, and I think the lads showed massive leadership, to stand up when the game was in the melting pot, and their just sheer desire to go through was really evident for us. And look, I've said it many times, we're really proud of the effort they put in, and we're absolutely delighted now to be back in the All-Ireland final again.
It's interesting you mentioned character there, because I saw Joe Canning's interview afterwards when he said Galway's character was questioned, and I was thinking, who questioned it? Like, where did that come from?
Look, I think we're in a world now where, through all the different forms of media, and there's so many opinions. But look, Joe's entitled to his opinion also, and I will always back him 100%. And as I said, he's well able to articulate what he needs to.
Well, if there's anything we've heard in the last few weeks, thanks to Eamon Fitzmaurice speaking, and John Kiley yesterday as well, that it's not always easy being a manager or being a player. You yourself, have you been the target of anyone's ire over the years?
We have, most certainly, yeah. Look, as I said, I think it's the unfortunate world we're in, and society now, where people think they can take certain liberties, and look, I think every manager receives probably some mail, from different sections of the public, and look, I think it's part and parcel of it, and whether you take or read much into it, that's your own prerogative. I think sometimes people, on the outside don't really appreciate or comprehend the amount of work that's been put in, particularly number one from the players, the sacrifices, and as I said, the commitment they make is just incredible. And it's, at the end of the day, it's an amateur game, and what everybody associated with every team, the amount of time and effort they put in, it is a professional capacity, everyone goes in to do the job the best they can. And look, as I said, everyone's entitled to their opinion as well, but sometimes it probably just goes a step too far.
Part of that, because we don't see you training, you keep things out, and we understand why, because you don't want to be letting things in to be distractions, or more importantly, things leaking out. But perhaps when people don't see the efforts going in, maybe you can understand why they sometimes wonder what's going on in there.
Yeah, but I suppose there's a huge thing of trust on it as well, you know what I mean? I think sometimes if people are the first to hear something, they just can't wait to get it out there, do you know what I mean? So I think there's an environment as well, it's so competitive, and I think the championship this year has been fantastic, and there's very little between teams, and that's been evident in so many results in both provincial championships, and it's been a great year for hurling, and especially for the supporters, and it's just down to fine margins.
At what point do you make a decision, this is going to be my starting 15?
We go right as far as we can. Look, obviously the team has to go in on a Wednesday, which is something that I think should be looked at, because there's no consideration for if an outfield player gets injured that you can change it. It's a bit historic at this stage, you know what I mean, when you think of other sports that you can go to an hour before it and announce your team and squad and so on. So but look, that's the way it is, and so we have to have a fair idea by midweek of the game.
I'm looking here, actually, something that's actually been really useful. Galway GA provided us with these kind of stats and where players started, and I know numbers mean less now than they ever did, but I found it kind of interesting. Most of them have stayed where they are, except Adrian Toohey and Aidan Hart. There's been a lot of jumping about there. What was the thinking behind that? When you look over the stats now over the season, what was the thinking process behind it?
Well, I'm only looking at it here now with you. So Adrian just went from one corner to the other corner. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And look, I think with Harty, he's huge versatility in his game as well. So he can just move from the inside line to the outside line as well. But I think over the course of our tenure, we were fortunate to have a fairly settled team. But as Joseph Cooney showed last week, there's huge versatility, and that's just down to the talent that the lads have, and as I said, they can adapt to playing in different positions. And
we'll be looking there as well. Garrett McInerney was such a stalwart there, Diver Shea, and then obviously you had to do without him. But Park Man, they did the job fairly well.
Yeah, look, as I said, that goes back to the strength of the squad. You know, Joseph went in wing back, and Park, well accustomed to playing at number 6 with his club as well, so it was nothing new to him, and you know, had a fine game there.
Finally, obviously, the word hype is so overused. Maybe Galway might see a little bit less of that this year because people now know what it feels like to have a winning All-Ireland team, to finally have that feeling in Croke Park and to come home in the celebrations. But it's such a fine line because you want to enjoy the build-up as well, I'm sure. You don't want to be cosseted away from it completely. So how do you handle it?
I think, you know, obviously last year we had nearly a month in preparation for it, and the hype was building. I think this year, with the new format and the way recent results have gone for us now, we just have a 2-week run in, and I think Galway GA at the minute is in a great vein of form, you know, with our footballers now with the weekend playing Dublin the semi-final, and we wish them the best of luck. You know, our minors footballers as well, and our own hurlers are in the All-Ireland final again under Jeffrey, and you know, Tony Ward has made huge strides with his management team, with the under-21s being in the winning Leinster for the first time and now in the All-Ireland semi-final as well. So for the general Galway public, it's been a fantastic summer. You know, when all our teams are competing at the business end, and